All right, Greg, we are live.
All right, here we are, everybody. I am just, of course, uploading or not uploading, but opening up the Real Geeks Facebook page. I just want to make sure if there's any questions or comments, from today's episode that Abe and I are able to see them. So, Abe, we are going to talk about the 5 new workflows that all real estate agents need to be creating, or all real geeks, members need to be creating. Before we kind of like start doing a dive into what those workflows are, um, why don't we share with them, and maybe you can start. Why don't we just share with them why are we coaching them why are we urging them or trying to influence them to create new workflows right now?
Well, because the conversations are changing. So every time there's a change in the market, change in the economy, even change in seasons, sometimes the conversation has to change to go along with it.
Yeah.
So some of the workflows that we've had in the past might be talking about, it's a hot market, come on and sell right now before it gets any colder, or it could be saying there's low inventory, so it's time that you always want to, like, I like to change like these workflows at least once a quarter.
Yeah.
So I typically will go through and say, okay, is this conversation, is this text message, this email, is this still relevant to what's currently happening in the market?
Yeah.
And it's little minor tweaks like that. And it takes a couple of minutes to do, and then it really they're going to resonate a whole lot better with the consumer.
Yeah. And so there's not a lot for me to add to that, because I think that was said very well. I think it was Brendan that planted the seed in my head one time. He just said it, and I always quote him on this. And he says, Greg, the only thing that really shifts in the market is the conversation.
Right.
It's like people still buy, they still sell, but maybe, hey, you need to buy now because interest rates are historically at the lowest they've been in the last 55 years. Like that conversation doesn't really work today, but that doesn't mean that person's not going to buy because the interest rates are not at, historical lows. It just means that that's not going to be a statement you're going to make. And a lot of our workflows, or a lot of workflows that are actually built right now, they say things like that. Hey, this is a great time to buy. Interest rates are a historical low. Please reach out to me if you're thinking about purchasing. Like, there's a lot of workflows that still have that language in it. Mm-hmm. So when we say 5 new workflows that you must create, we really didn't intend for them to be like 5 new, never known, never heard of, never seen workflows. It's like there's probably about 5 workflows that you need to delete and start all over, or at least I should say needs to be edited and then and redone, and they need to be refreshed and whatnot. So that's what Abe and I want to talk about today. And I did write down, and we do have a list of what are those 5. So I'll just kind of state the first one,
sure.
Abe, and that is a new re-engagement workflow. Okay, a new re-engagement workflow. Now, I'm making an assumption, and I know it's an inaccurate assumption, but I'm making the assumption that you're already using the re-engagement that was built for you and exist in the Real Geeks library already. Okay. So I would just be recommending that you look at the workflow, re-engagement workflow, or create a re-engagement workflow and make sure that all of the language is relevant to today's market. Now, I also want to, for those of you that do not have a re-engagement workflow, let me just say a re-engagement workflow would be designed to communicate with people who are non-active. Those are the people that a lot of times you look in your database, oh, they haven't even opened up one of my emails for 6 months. That would be a person that we would love to get re-engaged, because, and I call it re-engaged workflow, not a dead lead workflow, because the truth is they're not dead. They're just not engaging with you. They're likely engaging with somebody else. So we want to kick off, you want to build a workflow in order to email and text all of them, get them engaged, and then the ones that are engaged, you can give them a call, and now all of a sudden you've got business to work on. So that's kind of who it would go to. Is you could set a rule and just making sure that anybody that has not been active, either responded to an email you've sent them, they haven't done any searching, they haven't favorited anything, you want to kick off a re-engagement workflow for that group of people.
And you're talking about buyers, Greg, right?
I am talking about buyers. Yeah. Yes. And thank you for that. Yeah. I am talking about buyers. I'm going to put that on my list and make sure I distinguish that next time, because that was important.
So the reason for that re-engagement, obviously, like right now, these last week or so, interest rates have gone down some, right? So
Yeah.
we all know that there's a lot of buyers just sitting on the sidelines right now. The buyers are still out there. There's no question in my mind the buyers didn't just disappear. The buyers are still out there. They're sitting on the sidelines waiting, because everything they hear is about the market's about to crash, real estate's going down, interest rates have gone through the roof. So there's people out there still ready to buy, just waiting for the right opportunity. And I think as interest rates, if they continue to creep down some more, I think more and more buyers are going to get sucked into the market.
Yes. Yeah. And, the importance of a re-engagement campaign, and maybe I can shed some light on this, is like, if you look at like a Zillow, and I don't know, and maybe I should just actually Google this. I'm sure there's something out there, but there's probably something out there that shows, that makes a statement on how many leads they get in an annual basis. And if you look at how many leads they get in an annual basis, it exceeds the population of America. And then let's go to realtor.com or Trulia or Movado, Ojo, all these, Google, list all these lead companies. If you take all of the lead companies and you say, okay, how many leads did you capture? And you tally all those, add all those up, the number of leads that are captured are probably 4 times the population, 5 times the populations of the United States. So with that being said, it's a pretty safe assumption that just about everyone in America is a lead that has been captured in one of these systems. Now, I know not everybody in America, but you understand where I'm going with this. So just about every new lead you get was already in another agent's or Zillow or realtor.com or some portal. Just about every lead you get was already captured in someone else's database at another time. So it's very rare that the new leads that you're buying, it's very rare that they're actually new leads. They're disengaged leads in somebody else's CRM that were re-engaged because they saw some sort of ad, and now you've got them as a new lead. In a shifting market where a lot of us are kind of concerned about financials, and maybe you're like, well, gosh, I don't know if I can spend money on leads. You don't have to keep raising your budget on leads. You could actually maintain your current budget, start doing more re-engagement workflows, and generate more leads. Like you get, but it's interesting, Abe, an agent will actually get somebody re-engaged, but they don't actually value that re-engaged lead as much as they'd value a new lead. But the key is the new lead is a re-engaged lead. So we got to kind of like forget about all this, use the re-engagement workflow, and all of a sudden you can start filling up your pipeline again.
Yeah.
Cool. What's the next one? There's one.
So real quick, I don't know if we touched on this. So what you want to change in this workflow is talk about the interest rates going lower, and then talk about inventory going higher. So those are the 2 key things that you want to mention in this new re-engagement workflow, because that's what's going to resonate with the buyers out there. When they hear those 2 things, it's going to suck them back right into the market. So those are the 2 changes you want to make to your re-engagement workflow.
Yeah. And like here, great news. You don't have to pay $30,000 more to actually buy the property that you want. Like that's something to talk about.
Right.
Maybe you won't say it that way. I was a little dramatic, but you won't say it that way. But I want to stress the point. It's like Abe says, more inventory. Well, to translate that to a buyer, what's the value of that to a buyer? They actually have choices now. They can choose the property that they want. So in my mind, a re-engagement says, "Hey, you still interested in are you? I'm not sure if you know, but inventory has increased, given us more opportunities to choose that perfect home, and in many cases at a discounted price. I'm just kind of curious. Are you still interested in purchasing?" That could be an email or a text. That could be part of a workflow.
So,
All right.
Greg, you were a little dramatic,
Yes.
but if you were using video, it would have been perfect.
Okay.
That would have made a great video.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right,
not sure if that was a compliment or not, but
all right, so workflow number 2 is a cell evaluation workflow. So
yeah.
go back to your cell evaluation workflows. Again, time to go in there, just at least, at the very least, look at it and look at the content and the language that's in there and ask yourself, is this relevant to today's market? And if it is, then keep it. If
Yeah.
it's not, make some changes to it. So some of the things that you could be talking about right now is, look, any buyer that's out there in this market right now is serious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yes, they're hearing all kinds of things. It's too late to sell and blah, blah, blah. All of that stuff is not true. It's still, historically speaking, when you look at the levels of inventory right now, it's still very, very low. Okay, we're still in a low inventory market at the national level, right? So you can still sell. So this would be the conversation would be, look, but we've got buyers out there and they're all serious right now. There's no tire kickers out there right now. There's a lot of buyers looking around. And that's how I would tweak the workflow.
Yeah. Yeah. We may have some sellers, because I know Abe and I are talking to sellers all the time. And, we'll have some that are a little bit concerned about the market. Well, are there still buyers? I know interest. And I said, there are less buyers, but the quality of the buyer that's calling us today is much greater. So you remember, your next buyer call already knows the interest rates are higher. The next buyer call already knows that inventory is increasing. Your next buyer lead already knows the word recession, inflation, and gas prices and interest rates. They already know all that stuff, but they're still calling you. The buyer calls that you're not getting are the ones that were really not that committed to actually buying. So now that the market's not as hot, they're like, never mind. We'll just wait to see what happens. So the quality of the buyer leads that you're getting should be going up just by that fact alone. Now, if some of you are saying, I don't know, I don't see any quality. Listen, I just want to be real transparent. It's probably because you're not asking the right questions. But just statistically, the quality of the buyer should go up as the quantity of the leads go down. That's how it works. Serious people still shop for homes. So I say all that because that could be a conversation that you could start working through and try to figure out, well, what would be a good text? What would be a good email? Now, I don't know if, I know some of you are involved in Real Geeks Mastery, which is a coaching program that Abe and I do to help you do a real deep dive into Real Geeks. I just want you to know, for those that are in Real Geeks Mastery, and if you're not, then check it out. But I'm actually writing these workflows and going to give them to everybody that's in our coaching group. For you all, I just want to share with you, these are the ones that you want to focus on right now. So cell evaluation was number 2. Did I interrupt you, or did you finish your thoughts on that?
I'm good.
Okay, good. The third one is centers of influence and sphere. Now, you may already have a workflow. A lot of people, for some reason, don't have a workflow for this category. If you don't, you should have one. If you do, then pay attention again, reevaluate the information that you have, the text content, the email content, definitely start adding video. But the reason why I put this on my top 5 list is because your centers of influence and sphere, they all have questions about what's going on in the market. Like, everybody wants to know what's going on in the real estate market right now. And what's important is that you're the one that's answering that question. But if you don't have them in a workflow, you're probably not being consistent at communicating with them. So you can create a workflow and put in there some things, and it could be more informational. And an example would be, hey, here's a link. I want you to see the recent sales in the market. and then embed a link to maybe a market activity report. And then that's it for like one of the texts or the emails. Or you could do that in an email. Then 3 hours later, it could be a text. Hey, just wanted to make sure you saw the email. There's a lot going on in the real estate market right now. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. Like that right there is only a 2-step or 2-sequence workflow that I promise you will get very positive feedback for your centers of influence or sphere, whichever way you like to label them. That would be an example. And then you do that every single month. So those that are not doing it, start doing it, and you'll actually see engagement. And for those that are already doing it, make sure you go and evaluate that the content's relevant to today's market. Because you really, let me tell you, you really look bad if you're sending them a message in a workflow that's inconsistent with today's market. I can tell you right now, I screwed that up myself. I had a workflow that was way too long. I believe in short workflows, not like workflows for like 10 months and 12, 15 months, which is what we used to do. But I still had one of those going on, and people in those workflows, and like at the hottest time of the market, there was an email going back if you'd like a list of all the foreclosures. And it's like, I caught that really late, and then we deleted that from the workflow. But that's an example of what doesn't work. And it probably makes me look bad in the eyes of my database.
So two takeaways, Greg, from that for when it comes to sphere, centers of influence and sphere. So obviously you made the campaign, the workflow very short, just one email, one text message, because these are people that know you. You don't want to bombard them with messages.
Yes.
And then number two, there was nothing in there about selling, nothing in there about buying. It's like, hey, there's a lot of changes going on right now in the market. Just wanted to see if you had any questions for me. It's more of a giving, and that's the kind of relationship you want to have with your COI and your sphere.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of like Gary Vaynerchuk. Remember, he created that book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Give, then ask. Yes.
Then ask. Yeah. So number 4, seller monthly update. All right. So one of the most powerful tools is the automated market updates that the sellers or the property owners get within Real Geeks. Okay. If you're not looking at who's opening it, if you're not calling people after they open, then there's really no sense of using it. Like you want to take advantage of what the system does. So they go out. I think they go out the 1st and the 15th. If you send them twice a month, or the 1st, however you have it set up. So I would put in my calendar either the 2nd or the 3rd day after it goes out to check who's opened them, who's looked at them, and give them a call. And again, it doesn't have to be, because you can't do this every single month and ask him, hey, Greg, I saw you opened your market report. Do you want to sell? Again, especially right now, it's a matter of, look, I'm here to answer any questions you might have. There's a lot of confusion out there right now when it comes to real estate. There really is. I mean, I'm talking to sellers, and they think that they completely missed the market, that it's just you can't sell anymore, which it can't be any further from the truth. So there's a lot of confusion out there. And if you just come from the place of, look, I'm here to help you, I'm here to answer any questions you may have, it will go a long way. So I would tweak the first of all, if you don't have one, I would create one, okay, and then have it go out right after the market report goes out. And it's just a matter of checking in and say, okay, did you receive my market report? Did you have any questions on it? Any questions overall about the economy or the market? We're not going to answer for you. Just something that simple. And then if you want, if it's someone you haven't talked to in a while, you could add a last message at the end, while things are still hot, are you considering selling right now? Or is there anything I can help you with or answer any questions you might have? So you could, like for this particular lead source, you could kind of go for the sale at the end of the campaign.
Yeah. Yeah. So in that scenario, that would be like a number 4, I guess, a monthly update workflow. And one of the things that I do I don't know that any of you on here, if you ever go to Myrtle Beach Real Estate TV, you can get an example of Abe and I, what we do every Tuesday. As a matter of fact, we do it right before this. We do a video where he brings data, and he and I then talk about the data, the market data of our local market. Call it Myrtle Beach Real Estate TV. And then we create a video that goes live on YouTube and our company Facebook page. But then we actually I created a short a short workflow inside of Real Geeks where I put everybody that was tagged as a seller that came in from like a seller valuation, ad. I said, send this email with this link. And then 2 hours later, text and say, hey, I'm just kind of curious. I want to make sure you got my update that I just emailed you. And I never asked for anything. That was it. That was a workflow. So I'm keeping people engaged. I'm providing value in the area of content. And I'm just putting myself out there on the field to get some business. And both of us in the last, I know, week or at least 10 days communicated with us that we got listings and people said, oh yeah, I saw that video.
And there's going to be many times when no one calls you, right?
Yes.
But you've got to play the long game on this. Okay, just because you do it one time and send this out and then no one answers, don't think it doesn't work.
Oh no.
You got in front of them. They saw your update. They saw your name. It's going to resonate with them. So the next time it happens, time after time after time, when they do get ready to buy or sell, most likely they're going to be thinking of you.
That's right.
But don't expect immediate results or immediate gratification. This is a long game.
Yes. Yeah. And the fifth workflow that I had is a monthly workflow, but have it buyer focused. So I think what we just talked about there was a little bit more of seller focused. And so segmentation of your database within Real Geeks is very important, because when you segment, then you can speak more specifically to that audience. And so when I'm speaking to like Myrtle Beach Real Estate TV is really geared for property owners. All right. So we do it with property owners, and we're giving more data that a seller would need to know. Like inventory has risen by 40% is not necessarily the same way that I would speak to a buyer. What I would say to a buyer is, the benefits of additional listings hitting the market is now we're not forced to make offers on properties that don't fit our needs. We're able to take our time, look at more properties, and find that perfect home. That's the buyer's side of more inventory, is more choice. But the seller side of more inventory is that could be downward pressure on pricing. So because those conversations are so different, you have to have your database segmented into those two categories, and then have a relevant workflow associated with those two lists. So yes, we have to create two different versions of a newsletter in order to do this on a monthly basis. But we are now the educators. We're the authorities in the eyes of at least the people that are receiving it, which gives us a lot of come list me business or come help me buy business in the future.
Yeah. And it doesn't cost you more to create more workflows, right? I actually will break down sellers into condo owners and homeowners. So I'll have a different workflow for condo owners than it will be for a homeowner, because the message is going to be different.
Yes. And that's so, and Abe, the more granular you get like that, the better conversion rate you get. Right. So when when you hear Abe and I, saying, oh, well, we got 10 listings this month or 15 listings this month, or, some of the things that we say, there's a lot of little things that we're doing along the way that add up to influence our conversion ratio. Like if I'm doing one newsletter and send it in my entire database, and Abe's doing 4, he's doing a seller residential, a seller condo, a buyer residential, a buyer condo. If he was to do 4 and take the time to speak to each one of those categories, specifically based on that content, or gear the content to those category of databases, he would be way more effective than I would. I would be doing one size fits all. He's doing more one-to-one type communication. So he's going to get better conversion. Now it can get like overwhelming to overthink this, but at least do buyers versus sellers. That's why 4 and 5 was a monthly update, but seller focused, monthly update, buyer focused. So those are the 5. We got a new buyer re-engagement workflow, a seller valuation workflow, centers of influence sphere workflow, a monthly update to sellers, monthly update to buyers. Those are the 5 workflows that we recommend everyone focus on. Either create them new or go to the old and make sure that the content is current.
That's it.
That is it, everybody. Thank you all for participating. I didn't see any questions out there, but I see more and more people joining live. So we're great to see more engagement. Please let us know through the Facebook page if you have any questions. We'll monitor it, answer those if we can. And until next week, everybody have a great rest of your week.
Take care.
Bye-bye.